KSP stream tonight, so got plenty of time, and I've got insomnia, so let's see what we can make. All right. So I'm thinking what I'm going to go for is let's see here. Here's my updated file. There it is. I think I'm going to go for a Duna, which is KSP's analog to Mars probe. Oh, I don't even have my microphone in place. So you all can't hear me. There we go. Alright, let's see here. Alright, Mike's picking everything up good. Rookie move. Alright, so we're going to go into our VAB there. Alright, so we're going to be building a lander. So the first thing we need is a probe core. So let's see here. We've got, it's a good standard one here. Those RGUs aren't bad. Hex 2. Let's see here. I'm thinking the Hex 2. So we're going to put it all the way on top. So we've got that bad boy. And then we're going to build our foundation off of that. So it's obviously going to need some power. So let's go ahead and what's in my battery? Okay, we got 1,000 battery already stored on there. So we'll go ahead and go with solar panels. Or actually, we're throwing it all the way out to Mars, so we can go with an RTG, radioisotope thermoelectric generator. I wonder what the power output difference is. Let's see here. Okay. 0.8 a second output on that guy. Vice 1.6. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and go just for the normal photovoltaic panel. I don't need to get one that's going to retract back in because I'm going to send this out there to Duna and it's going to stay there. So we'll go ahead and go with a 1.6. Okay. Yep. And that'll get a good incidence angle like so. Okay, there we go. We've got that. Cool. Alright, now we need to, let's see here. Have a good comm antenna on there. So let's see, what do we got? Direct versus relay. 2G antenna rating, 100G, that's what I'd rather have there. So we'll go ahead and throw our antenna on. Alright. Really important thing when it comes to these. So Duna has an atmosphere, so we don't really have to put too much, or any, really for that matter, landing thrusters on there if we just pack a whole shit ton of parachutes. So what I'm going to do is move these bad boys over here like so, turn on symmetry, and then we got here, put just a honkin' parachute on top of this dude. Alright. The atmosphere on Duna is way thinner than it is on Kerbin, so we're going to have to add quite a few chutes. So I got to find, there we go, drogue chutes to slow it down. Alright, put 2 of those guys on there. We're not going to be worrying about repacking the parachutes. And I will put just kind of a small fuel tank with the thruster on there, just for good measure. Get our landing legs on there. Okay, what do we got? I don't need anything quite as nuts as that. So we'll go with the standard. We'll go with 4 of them. And again, I'm only really going to be using this tank for some on-orbit adjustments and to do the entry burn. So I don't need anything too crazy. Something a little bigger than the Spark. Get out of here. Let's see. Terrier will probably work. Yep. Sweet. Let's check our engineer here. Okay, so parachutes on first stage, that's the intent. Parachutes on engine stage, yeah, totally. That's what we're going for. Storage lacking. I've got plenty of storage on the actual core itself. So we've got that going. I'm going to move this whole bad boy up here. So this will be our final payload here. What do we got? Alright. I'm going to want something for kind of the mid stages of this mission. So we'll go with, what do we got? 1440. Okay. Let's not forget a decoupler. There's that. Alright. And we are going to put, I'll go with a 1440 there. I can actually, alright. Let me see what we've got in terms of liquid fuel tanks. Something kind of comparable. Let's see. What do we got here? That's rocket fuel, liquid fuel. I don't want something too crazy. Something kind of in the middle is perfect. You know, let's go ahead and make this guy kind of. I think we'll go with that 1440. So my plan here with this 1440 is I'm going to use a nuclear engine, which the nuclear engines, both the stock ones and the modded ones, they don't require any oxidizer, just liquid fuel. So go ahead, and the Nerve is the smallest one. I've downloaded some mods, so I'm going to go ahead and go with the Phobos there, which is kind of the middle of the road. So there's my basically atomic cruise phase there. Okay, and that should take care of most of that. Atomic engines are relatively heavy, but they're very efficient. I need to add in a payload fairing before I get too far gone. Okay. All right, there's that. And also importantly here, we are going to add a large reaction wheel module. That way we can kind of turn this thing quicker when we're on orbit. And good lesson learned from last time is to ensure you have some RCS thrusters going. Let's see where our center of mass right there, which tells me that when I place these RCS thrusters, what do we got here? Thruster power 7. I want to place them around the center of mass there, so that when this is transiting through space, I'm able to use RCS if this guy doesn't turn me quick enough. Alright, so we're getting there. This is strictly an exploration probe. I've got quite a few science mods downloaded, so we'll just pick something semi-interesting to throw on there. Sure, a laser light imager, why not? What do we got here? Alright, so I got that upside down. Alright, put that bad boy on there. That'll collect, we're playing in a sandbox mode, so it's not actually going to transmit anything, but in science you get science points that you use to buy other upgrades. Alright. Same deal as before. Throw our decoupler on. Alright, and then when I go through I'll have to auto strut pretty much everything on here. Okay, we're going to need a little larger stage to probably escape curb and orbit. So we'll go ahead and do that. What do we got? We got a mainsail. Skipper is 650 kelvins in vacuum. Let's go with the mainsail. Normally a main stage engine, but I like to add more power rather than less. Alright, this is in essence our second stage. Another decoupler there. And then we're going to go ahead and, alright, so we used a 2880. So we'll use a 6040. A little bit aesthetically unpleasing because it's kind of a shorter tank, but that's okay. And we're going to want to use a big engine on the bottom stage there. So our mainsail's thrust is 1379 at sea level. So let's see here. This mammoth engine will probably do just fine. And then of course you want your solid fuel boosters. Very important. Let's try 3 of them. Alright. Whatever. Alright. And let's see what we've got for solid fuel boosters. 390, 123. Let's use kind of a heavy lift. Those aren't really big enough. These are, though. But not like that. That's just going to boost me into the ground. Alright. There's that. Move them up. It doesn't really matter. They can, if they're resting on those, NBD. Alright. They need aerodynamic nose cones. Check. Alright. Engineer's report doesn't say anything too crazy. Gonna need some sweet looking fins. Put those on there so we can control it in the atmosphere. Alright. Now comes the tedious part. We're going to go ahead and auto strut everything so it doesn't wiggle around. Okay, yep. Just auto strut away. Alright, so we are pretty much built in terms of our prototype. Call this one Duna Probe. Alright, and now we got to work on our staging. So we've got our solids here. We're going to want our liquid engine on the first stage to fire at the same time as our solids. Those are going to decouple. We're going to lose that guy, fire up that stage. Okay, good. That guy goes, that stage goes. This is way up here, but I like to manually get rid of those once I get on orbit. That's going to pop off. I think that's about right. Alright, so now comes the silly part. So we'll go ahead and throw it out to the launch pad. And it's going to sit there for like a year, waiting for a transfer window probably. So this is the boring part. for those of you watching at home. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and go to our solar system map. Duna is our target. And we're going to use MechJeb like the filthy cheaters that we are. And go to Maneuver Planner. I'm going to go for a advanced transfer to another planet. Okay. It computed it. I don't know what all this means, but cool. Departure in 3 years. Alright, so we are, let's see. It's actually better to get this on orbit first because it's a little more realistic. So let's go ahead and try that out. Alright. So once again, I'm a filthy cheater, so we'll go ahead and shoot for 100K. Alright. Launch it, interplanetary window, T-minus 1 year. Alright, let's see. Oh, the battery died. Alright. Let's go ahead and revert. Alright, so we'll just go ahead and launch as it sits on the pad. And then once we're on orbit, we'll wait out the interplanetary window. Which is not a good thing to do, really, because of the harshness of space, but this game doesn't really mess with that, so, you know, all good. Alright, and let's lift off. Everything's firing. Looks good to me. I'm gonna go ahead and open my orbit info tab. Do our gravity turn about halfway through our solid fuel on the first stage. Looks like we're doing. You're doing great, sweetie. Looks like, yeah, we're cooking. So, yep, we're good. We'll make it into orbit, no problem. Alright. There goes our solids, flying off every which way. Keeping an eye on my atmosphere. Once we get to a very low atmosphere and I don't need this fairing anymore, I'm going to go ahead and jettison that. I'm going to turn on RCS, that way we can burn and turn ourselves rapidly. Getting rid of this excess weight of the fairing. It's gone. Okay. Yep. Burning through some of that monoprop. Give us the best chance to... All right, come on. Come on. There you go. Alright, we're at the node. Good. We got a whole... In scientific terms, metric shit ton of fuel left in the first stage, so we created a design that'll probably make it there with a lot of excess, which I'm completely cool with. The good thing about the thinner atmosphere is I don't have to heat shield any of this when it enters, so I'm just going to go ahead and enter it and use my massive parachutes to make that bad boy land. Sweet. I think we're gonna do pretty well here. My hope is that I budgeted the fuel correctly. I kind of just eyeball it. People have like whole calculators and spreadsheets they build. I don't really get into it that crazy. I just kind of try it and see what happens. All right, definitely going to make it on orbit, which is half the battle. Okay. We're there. Actually, that is something I did not think about, is the fact that if I extend these, they might actually break up when I enter that Duna orbit. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to extend one, because I can't retract these back, this model that I used. So I'll extend one, and I can't retract that now, which kind of sucks, but it'll give me power while I wait. Worst case scenario, I'll land, and I'll keep this guy folded up, and I'll just have one solar panel. which for all intents and purposes, I just kind of want to get there. I don't really care how it happens. Alright, so on orbit, we're powered, so our battery won't die. I'm going to go ahead and go to my maneuver planner. Kind of the same thing I did earlier. I'm going to select Duna. Alright. Departure in, it says 2 years. Create node. Alright, so it's going to be a 30-second burn, which isn't much. 1,017 meters a second of delta V, which... okay, so literally 1 more meter a second of delta V is what we're going to need out of that stage, so budgeted perfectly, if I do say so myself. Alright, so now here comes the boring part, and if you're tuning in, you might want to skip ahead. I'm going to go back to my tracking station. I'm going to use a mod I have called Kerbal Alarm Clock. Okay, I'm going to warp to the maneuver node. I'm going to give myself a decently wide margin. Let's call it 10 minutes. I'm going to add the alarm. It's going to take 2 years. Again, very boring. Also, there's going to be a lot of shit whirling around, so if you're epileptic, please take caution here, because it's going to be a lot of like flashing lights. Alright, and I'm just going to let this run. So I can fast forward here at the highest speed because I'm back in the what do they call this? Whatever, the tracking station center. So this is all going to count down. So I'm going to get another sparkling water, and I'll be back. And again, like I said, this is going to take ages. It's waiting 2 years, so this is literally as fast as you can fast forward, and we're still 2 years and 90 days out. So this is the reason why like the planning portion of these is so critical in real life, right? Because you're trying to do something where you're near coplanar, and you coplanar. Yeah, for anybody who doesn't really understand orbital mechanics. Coplanar is you basically, the planets don't all orbit around the sun at 0 degrees, right? Like flat. So, you know, they're inclined this way, they're inclined this way, they're more elliptical, less elliptical, which means the circle of the orbit is squeezed or more round. So you have to kind of wait so when the orbits kind of align in a certain way, it means you can do an energy efficient transfer between planets. Otherwise, you're doing all sorts of like out of plane burns, and fuel is very important when you budget. So that's basically what I'm waiting for now. I could probably do it without waiting for everybody to align like this, but if I did, I'd probably need like 3 or 4 times the fuel. But I'm not a rocket surgeon. I don't know that for sure. Some of my other things I've got on this file, I've got a base on my moon there. I did kind of like a Saturn V type. I've got something that I was trying to send interstellar but didn't really make it all the way. A lot of things on Duna here. A lot of things orbiting the sun, which basically means they've broken kind of the sphere of all these other planets. So you can get really crazy. At one time, I've got a couple base building mods on this game. At one time, I had like a whole like interplanetary empire going. I had like a refueling base on the moon. This is when I would play like every single day. So, yeah. Alright, still counting down. Again, trying to keep it entertaining if you're watching. Sitting here and explaining orbital stuff, but like I said, hopefully you skip through to the more action-packed part. This is like 5 minutes of literally just time compression. There's people that do missions on here where they do everything real time. Not this, but like going to the moon, and they just let their computer run. So it's kind of nuts. Okay, counting down. Yeah, and this just kind of goes to show you how important engineering solutions are with stuff like this, right? Like, the fact that I, like, had the shortcoming in my brain of, like, oh, I'm going to power it with this solar panel, but it's one I can't retract, is kind of what you run it. That's the fun of this game for me, is the fact that you come up with these engineering solutions in your brain, and then you throw something out into space, you get halfway there, and you're like, shit, that didn't work. So, you come up with on-the-fly solutions, or you just reload a save file. Alright. We are at our alarm time, which is great. So I'm going to go ahead and delete the alarm. And go to my craft. Hopefully it's still powered. Alright, it's a good sign. Still got probe power. Plenty of monoprop. So we're good there. Alright. It's going to turn us around to our burn vector. Alright, it's warping us to our burn time. Like I mentioned earlier, this solar panel, it's kind of sticking out like this. When I re-enter, there's not a whole lot of atmosphere, but there's enough that it's probably going to just rip that thing right off. So, alright, we're doing our burn. I'm going to go ahead and move my nuclear engine down to this stage. That way it uninterrupted fires right after I run out of... Alright, let's see here. Alright, we are escaping Kerbin's gravity. I didn't follow my own rule. I usually save at each step, so that might bite me. Let's see. Alright. Interesting. At default, okay, cool. So, we've done that maneuver. Go ahead and stage that guy. Boost it away. Alright, and I think we're on our path now. So we'll go ahead and check in the map. Alright, let's see. Alright, so we're going to have to do an adjustment burn because the calculation was not horribly exact. So let's get out of the sphere of influence of Kerbin. And then we'll do an adjust burn. In the meantime, I will save. Leaving sphere of influence. Save. Alright, come on. I'm gonna have to extend my antenna. Luckily the antenna I picked I can retract. So let's go ahead and do that. That way we have good comms. I should pick back up. There it is, full probe control. Good. We'll have to retract that guy when we go back in. There's Kerbin as we depart. Once we're in solar orbit. We'll go ahead and adjust. All right. We are out of Kerbin's sphere of influence. We're in a solar orbit. Luckily there's a maneuver planner. Fine-tune closest approach to target. Approximate final para-apsis. We'll try that out. Alright. So. Okay, so not much really. 25-ish meters a second of delta V. So, NBD on that one. It's going to take a while to get there though. 112 days. So we'll let it auto-warp us out there. Most of the weight on this mission was this massive engine. These are relatively low thrust. It's called specific impulse. But they're highly efficient. Again, a 3-second burn, so really not much at all. I probably could have gone without even putting this thrust stage on here, but better to budget more fuel than less. Not dealing with real money here. Alright, so we'll check back on our map. It looks like we've got an encounter right there. So we're going to go ahead and warp to our sphere of influence of Duna. And we're just transiting. Looks like we're upside down, but there's really no up or down in space. All these question marks are either places on Kerbin or they're asteroids. You can actually go and intercept an asteroid, and if you put enough fuel in there, you can bring it back into Kerbin orbit. I've never successfully done it, though. It's kind of nuts. I've cheated them back into Kerbin orbit, but that doesn't really count. Alright, this will change as soon as we get into that sphere of influence. Okay, there we are. Alright, let's see what our para-apsis is here. Alright, 159,000 meters. So we will go ahead and plan another maneuver there. Nope, don't go away. Alright. Let's see here. So, change. Alright, so circularize at the next para-apsis, which means we'll make our closest and farthest distance close together. It's going to be a minute-long burn. 700. We got plenty of delta V. We literally have that entire stage. So again, budgeted more fuel than necessary, but did just fine. Okay, we're going to come on Duna here pretty soon. We'll see it. There it is. You can see the polar ice cap there. It's pretty cool. That's pretty neat. That's a polar ice cap. You can tell it's a polar ice cap by the way it is. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and physics warp, because I don't feel like sitting here for a full minute. Really, the fuel budget was beautiful for this one. I am extremely pleased with how this turned out. Alright, so, looking back at our map, we are in a stable orbit, albeit highly inclined. So I think I am going to try and land on this ice cap. That would be pretty cool. So let's see here. Pick target on map. Let's go with want to do something coplanar, kind of like I explained. It's going to do a deorbit burn. Once it gets done with all these burns, I'm going to have it retract this antenna, which means I'm going to be slightly uncontrolled. You can see Duna's moon cresting there. So I'm not really going in an equatorial orbit. The orbit that it got me into is like up around the poles, which is pretty interesting. All right. Okay, it's doing a course correction. You can do all these things manually without being a cheater and using MechJeb, but I'm no Scott Manley. I don't have 40 hours a week to sit and be good at this, nor am I monetized. All right, let's see here. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and abort the auto land just for now. Go ahead and retract my landing gear, retract my antenna. Let it land for us. I'm going to use this booster here since I've got a lot of fuel in it. Probably should have saved, but I didn't. Oh, please don't crash. All right. Alright, I don't want to have to haul around all this extra weight, so this is probably going to shoot myself in the foot, but I'm going to go ahead and jettison that. Okay, we're going to activate that engine. And we're going to start doing a decel burn. I'm going to do it manually here. Uh-oh, alright, retrograde. We use all these parachutes once we get a little closer here. Okay. These guys are safe to use. So I'm going to go ahead and deploy them. Alright. I can cut that. I've already noticed an issue, so I'm going to go ahead and make these deploy at a high altitude and with very little atmospheric pressure required. Okay, once they get to 5,000 meters, they'll deploy. Same deal. That solar panel actually might not rip off, which is good. And I'm just going to kind of play with the speed here. I've got plenty of fuel. Go ahead and warp. Alright. This is manual landing here. I could have done it automatically, but I like this more. At least for this type of probe here. Alright, we're pretty much in the atmosphere. And again, there's not much. That's why you're not seeing any like heating effects here. But hopefully alright, there goes our drogue chutes. Same deal. We're gonna hope that this one doesn't tear. Alright, we're good. It's a big atmospheric parachute there. We're going to deploy our landing gear. There go our drogue chutes, slowing us down. Okay. Yeah, and we're good here. We're pretty much cruising at 9 meters a second. So now, because I'm lazy, I'm going to touchdown speed, I want it 2 meters a second so my lander doesn't topple. It's pretty cool. I thought that would rip itself off, so that's good. Alright. So let's go ahead and warp. This is again going to be a boring part. It's better to be slow because it's going to take a long time to get down onto the surface, but I'm not having to worry about like doing a quick reaction burn at the end. Go crazy. So parachutes are kind of like for an actual Mars probe mission. Parachutes are a viable option, but again, there's so little atmosphere. Originally, when people envisioned Mars, they thought it had way more atmosphere than it did before we sent like the Viking probes out there. So they had kind of figured, okay, well, we can just use like winged vehicles and normal amount of parachutes like we did in the Apollo program, yada yada. But it really wasn't anywhere near the same. Alright, I think we can sufficiently say that we won't rip our antenna off, so we'll go ahead and extend that. Got plenty of electric charge, so I'm not really going to worry too much about extending his counterpart there. Just one more thing to break when we land. Alright, coming on down to the surface. I'm fortunate that I picked a time that we're in polar day, it looks like, depending on the time of the year, which is exactly the same as the way it works on Earth. For those of us that have been to Greenland, you get, your 4 months of darkness, which is inherently super fun. You can sit up there and get really good at Kerbal Space Program over the course of 4 months. Alright. That is one risk on the poles, right? This game has a really detailed physics model, so it's pretty interesting. Alright, we're getting very close to the surface now, so I'm going to go ahead and stop warping time. Really, we could probably land at the 7 meters a second that we're going without any issue, but I'm going to let it kind of use its algorithms to use our engine to make sure we land at a very low speed. And this thing is not going to go anywhere. If I wanted to get back off the planet and back to Kerbin, for instance, I'd have to add a lot more fuel. I'd probably have to dock on orbit with Duna with another, okay, here we go, with another module just to head back. Alright, so, moment of truth. Alright, it's going to burn. Okay, we're there. I made the speed intentionally low. A little bit of bounce. We made it. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and extend my panel. We're not going to have a lot of charge because it looks like we're down in a draw here. So I'm going to go ahead and hurriedly do my experiment. Alright. Cool. We've got our experiment. We're going to transmit that data back home. It's there. Just for grins and giggles, let's go ahead and see what happens with the sun, and if we lose power. This might be a short-lived mission. Okay, the sun is crested. Our electric charge is going. Yet another reason why you can send these things with like a thermoelectric generator. Alright. Battery's dead. Okay. Battery's back. This whole draw is illuminated here. So, yep. That was a Duna mission. So, hope you all enjoyed. Relatively more successful than some other endeavors. I've gone to Duna 100 times. So, I hope you enjoyed my visit to Mars Analog's Polar Ice Cap. Like, subscribe, friend, share, do your thing. You can follow me on Twitch. I've got a YouTube, same deal, Force of Space. I'm on Facebook, of course. And then I've got a podcast called Bro History that you can find on Spotify, Libsyn. I'm also on Facebook. Hopefully coming out with a new episode on Sunday, Zach and I. So definitely check that out. Appreciate you all. Thank you all for watching. Don't think I had any real-time viewers, but as you're watching this tomorrow, know that I appreciate you, and have a good